Hello everybody, I am Must, and welcome to another episode of turning Disney characters into Dark Souls bosses, Fromsoft bosses, or something. Let me know what you think of this down in the comments. Also, let me know if you want a part 3. Originally, I only had these 2 parts in mind, but I'm down for more if you guys want more. This is a very fun project. Same deal as the previous part, I picked 3 characters and I did a Dark Souls on them. So, without further ado, let's get started. First character of the day is Jafar. I actually did an Instagram poll to pick these 3, and people seem interested in seeing more villains this time around. Funny thing is that I think villains are actually harder to transform than any other character, because Dark Souls bosses are never truly evil. They fall under some grayish area, and it's all about the descent into madness, the corruption of the soul, and the nihilistic nature of life. And I like to incorporate all those aspects when I'm designing these versions. I like to give lore that makes sense, not just like some crazy design and that's all. You can do that more easily with heroes than with full-on villains. So, back to Jafar. This was actually my second attempt at Jafar. I wasn't very convinced with how I ended up doing him. He was too small on the bottom of the canvas, and there was like a lot of negative space wasted. The design really wasn't popping off for me, and I got another idea after I finished it. So I decided to start all over again with a Vero pose, kinda like a splash art type of composition, but basically the same concept. I even recorded the whole speed draw of the first drawing and almost put it in the video, but I felt like it was a waste of time really. So I just showed the final result at the end. In terms of design, the first image I pictured in my head was of him holding a huge freaking lamp on his back and a few smaller lamps tied around him, like he's been hunting and collecting genies. I also gave him a mask. As I said in my previous video, most Fromsoft characters don't show their faces. The face is always behind something, and it's a detail I kept in mind for this part. I added a bit of extra flavor and went for an eyeless mask, just to be a little bit more extra on the whole no expression aspect. And the Lord will go something like this. At the end of Aladdin, Jafar was tricked into wishing to become a genie himself due to his ambition to be the most powerful being in the universe. But in this version, he wishes to be soulbound to the genie instead, resulting in him being his eternal slave. He will have the powers of the genie without the consequences. So Jafar managed to defeat Aladdin, becomes king of Agrava, and rules with an iron fist as he desired. But his ambition will eventually turn into his demise. Jafar discovered that there are more magic lamps in the world, meaning more potential foes that could defeat him. So he spent his entire life traveling around the world gathering these lamps, soul binding himself to every genie he come across. But knowledge turns into madness very quickly. He becomes obsessed. After all, his ambition is like a bottomless pit. He even finds this almighty lamp, the strongest genie in existence, as some will say. He even wishes to fuse with the lamp, melting it onto his body so that nobody could take it away from him. He now spends his days inside a floating city he built, the ruler of the skies, the master of 1,000 genes. I would imagine this one to be like an endgame boss type of deal, cause he's pretty fucking OP. I mean, the original Jafar was pretty OP. The only way to stop him was literally seal him forever inside a lamp. That's also why I throw in the madness bit to kinda nerf him, cause how could you be that guy with the power of infinite magic and wishes? I know we faced against gods in the Fromsoft games, but this one, it's a little bit too much. His fighting style would be like very erratic, summoning genes from his lamps, conjuring projectiles, all sorts of stuff. I would also imagine he will stop attacking you from time to time because he hears voices inside his head and whatnot. So those are like windows for you to deal damage. So that's it. Let me know what you think of Jafar, and I leave you with the final result. Next up, we got Merida, and my main inspiration for her was Melania. I can see some similarities between them, both being these strong woman bosses, Valkyrie-like red-headed warriors, you know? So yeah, for this one I went for a more of a less depressing or monstrous approach. I kinda see this one as an optional boss really. She's the chieftain of the Deep Woods, the protector of the realm, the one in charge after her parents died. I know some people will say that they see Merida as a long-range bow and arrow kind of fighter, but I imagine her taking the steps of her father, even using his sword. We know Merida is a good fighter overall, not only with bow and arrow, so I make her a full-on strange magic boss. I'm pretty proud of the helmet design, if I can say so myself. I always have like a main detail that serves as an anchor point that drives the whole thing, and for this one it was the bear theme helmet. I needed something to cover her face, so this idea was just perfect, and I think it's better than my original bear coat idea I had. That was pretty tame and boring, and Fromsoft aesthetic is basically the opposite. I also decided to do a bear spirit behind her, maybe a little bit too on the nose with the bear stuff, but I like it a lot. It also shows that she's a magic user basically. And as I said, I'd imagine her as an optional boss, that you will have to defeat her in order to progress an optional area, or like a Priscilla situation where you find her at the end and you can choose to be a dick and pick a fight with her. Either way, this one wouldn't be required to finish the quote-unquote game. You can fight her whenever you want. And of course, being an optional boss, I expect Melania levels of difficulty, swinging her magic sword at you, pancaking you Artoria style, being like fast as fuck, and grabbing attacks, throwing giant spirit bears your way. A combination basically of Horalu, Melania and Ronaldo. I think this is my favorite design so far. I'm really happy with the final result. Sometimes when I finish some drawings, I take a step back and I'm like, damn, I really did this from scratch. That's pretty fucking awesome. And at the end, we got Hades. And as I said at the start of the video, villains, pretty difficult to do. So this one I think is the weakest of the three. I didn't do much changes to his original design since Hades is already a top tier character and villain. For some reason, I wanted no head on him. My mind went for a floating mask instead. I don't really know why. I thought it was a neat idea at the moment. I gave him a Cerberus belt because I wanted to incorporate them into the design somehow, and that's the best I could think of at the moment. It's funny because what I'm most proud of about this piece is actually the background. I tried a different style of background just using the lasso tool, no sketch, just doing some shapes with values, slapping a gradient map on top and then render it a bit at the end. And I absolutely loved the result. I'm gonna keep experimenting with it in the future for sure. And I don't have much lore for this one really. The only thing that I would imagine is that he might trick you into let him escape from the river Styx somehow. That would be like a quest you do, and at the end, when he finally escapes, you will have to fight him, try to avoid the destruction of Olympus. The difficult thing here is there is already a game full of depression, brutality, and Greek mythology. It's called God of War and maybe Hades. So yeah, this one was a tough one for sure, but I like it nonetheless. Another 3 Disney bosses done. Let me know which one was your favorite. Subscribe, hit the bell, all that YouTube stuff. Follow me on my socials. I'll be uploading the artworks there, and I see you guys in the next one. Bye.